guys, Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Welcome to the video. Hopefully it finds you all doing well. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is that time again. It is that time. It's the most official card tier list, every card in Clash Royale. We're going to base this on win percentages. It's not my own, anecdotal biases and opinions on these cards. We're actually going to base it, again, on the win rates, both at tournament level standard and ladder for each of these cards. Talk about their overall health in the game. Maybe even suggest some cards that we think needs a buff or a nerf. You guys can let me know all the reasons why I'm wrong in the comments below. Love when you guys participate in these videos. So let's go ahead and kick things off here, guys. Midway through August in 2022. I can't believe it's almost September already. That's crazy. My son's gonna be 5. My son's gonna be 5. I'm starting to feel really old, man, because a lot of you guys were around when I had him, when he was born. I guess I didn't have him when his mom had him. Anyway, let's get to the ranking here. S tier Wizard. Nah, I'm just joking. Wizard is one of those cards that's still a nuisance in ladder, but it's the second worst card in terms of win percentages at tournament level standard with a whopping 28% win rate. Now, the win rates on ladder are not that much better. It's a very popular card, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily incredibly good. Can you have success with Wizard? Sure. So I would say it's an F tier for challenges. And I would say it's a C tier for ladder, so we're going to split the difference and put it in D tier, starting out with a D tier card. Next up is going to be the Expo. Expo's in a weird spot right now. Not that great. However, good Expo players are always going to win with Expo because Expo is just one of those cards that a higher skill player, or someone who's very familiar with the archetype, can just find a way to win, even against like more difficult beatdown matchups, right? And plus, there's the Queen version now. We had SK on the channel last week talking about it. The Archer Queen allows for the 3-card cycle. We have the Rocket cycle as well. So I think the Expo is still a viable win condition. It's not in the best spot right now. It has a 48% win rate overall inside the game. Zap spell, I'm going to put in B tier. It's hard to put Zap any lower than B tier. It has a 51% win rate. It's still, one of the quintessential small spells inside the game. So nothing really bad to say about the Zap other than, there's better options probably for a lot of decks out there. Zappies, oof. S tier. Boom! We're gonna put Zappy's S tier, guys. It has a whopping 19% use rate. 19% on Zappies, dude. 56% win rate in challenges. That's very, very high, guys. Just an absolute beast of a shutdown card in the meta right now. Shutting down, anything from Electro Giants, resetting with the Zap function, and against a Giant Skeleton. Anything beat down right now does very, very well. Zappies against that. And really against, P.E.K.K.A.s, you name it. Zappies are just great, and you can split them as well, right? Such a strong defensive card. We're going to give the Battle Healer an F. I think she needs to be reworked, and I think that Clash Royale said they're going to, or Supercell said they're going to rework her in the coming balance changes, so be on the lookout for that. She's a 41% win rate right now. Next up is going to be the Battle Ram. I put it in C tier. Has a 2% usage right now. It's only really used still in P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, the same deck, even with the buff to the Barbarians. So I think that the Battle Ram is C tier. You can definitely make a case it is B tier, but I'm going to try to be a little bit harsh on these grades today, putting, high expectations. So I think it's an average card, which is C tier, right? We have the Bomb Tower. I think Bomb Tower is actually an underrated building, personally. I'm going to go ahead and put it in B tier. I'm never excited when I go against somebody with Bomb Tower. I'm like, oh, great, Bomb Tower, even though it's not a very popular card. Overall, win percentages hover right around 50%, so not bad at all. And if you're looking for a building, 53% actually, so you could do a lot worse right now. Speaking of buildings, it's so crazy how the cannon, the little cannon that could, came from out of nowhere to enter into basically every single archetype. A whopping 21% use rate right now on Cannon, and that's not because everybody's playing 2.6 Hog Cycle. It's because Cannon is now in like every cycle deck, right? Now that Tesla is arguably a worse option for 4 Elixir, in a lot of these faster cycle decks, we're seeing it in Logbait, we're seeing Cannon in really every, like I said, every archetype for the most part. A lot of hybrid decks as well. It's everywhere, and it's an incredibly good and strong, robust defensive card. So we're going to give it A tier. Win percentage, though, is only 48%. So can't go S tier, but that use rate, 21%, is crazy. The Bomber, I'm going to put the Bomber in B tier. So I think the Bomber's a great card, only 2 elixir, so it's a fast cycle card, great with champions, can get a lot of value for only 2 elixir. It does have a 49% win rate right now in a 3% use rate. So not the most popular, actually a 4%, not the most popular card in the game, but still a solid card nonetheless. Cycle cards, right? You gotta love them. Bowler is actually starting to see a lot more action, guys, inside this meta. So I'm gonna give him a B tier on the big blue fella. Really, really solid card. Great for kind of shutting down an entire lane. Hate going against the Bowler. 53% win rates right now on the Bowler. Cannon Cart, I'm gonna go A tier. Cannon Cart is just so freaking good, man. It has a 5% use rate, has a 55% win rate right now. Very healthy. Such a strong defensive card. Is somewhat spell resistant in having the cannon being the second iteration of the card. I think it's just very, very powerful. Clone, I'll give C tier. Not very good use or win rates on Clone, but you know, an effective Clone deck, as much as I hate going against them, can be so annoying and so difficult to counter depending on what you're playing. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I've been very, very frustrated against Lava Clone and Golem Clone matchups, right? First play Lava, first play Golem, and your whole tower's down. Great, awesome. Ooh, Dark Prince is another card that I am tempted to go into S tier territory. I think Dark Prince is so incredibly strong right now. Use rate 8%, win rate 53%. So effective, has the shield, can take a big punch, even a punch from a Sparky. We're still going to be alive and well. Get the splash damage, got the charge, all for 4 elixir, a lot of HP as well. Dark Goblin, I'm going to say is A tier. Also, the little fella, the little machine gun Dark Goblin, he's really, really good, guys. 48% win rate, but a 12% use rate. So a lot of people are using the Dark Goblin. I'm even seeing a lot of bait players take out the princess and run one version of, there's a bunch of kind of Dark Goblin cycle decks with bait. So Dark Goblin just incredibly good. It always seems to return value against the opponent as well. Great for log bait, obviously, as well. Archers, I'm going to put C tier. I can never put, contractually, I can never put archers below C tier. I think they're just like a really, really strong card, even though right now their win rates suck, right? 38% win rate, and you're seeing a lot of Expo players take them out of Expo and put the queen in. However, I just can't put them, I can't put archers D or F tier. It doesn't feel right to me. It's because you can split a decent air targeting card for 3 elixir, right? It's unique enough to give it use case even with pretty abysmal win rates. The use rates right now are 1%, 38% win rate at challenge, at tournament level standard, and 1% use rate. Any of you guys use archers? Apparently not many of you guys. All right, next up we have Earthquake. So Earthquake is still a spell that I'm a big fan of, guys. It has a 49% win rate, and it has an 8% use rate right now. Earthquake, I feel like, is still one of the best spells out there, especially if you're running a building targeting unit, you know, a tower targeting unit. Win condition, Goblin Giant, Electro Giant, you name it. Getting rid of those defenses is obviously going to be very imperative, but you can really use the same case about, you know, Hog Rider or anything else. I think that Earthquake is fantastic. Still does a ton of crown tower damage for 3 elixir. You gotta love it. Electro Dragon, I'm gonna say he's B tier as well. I think he's a little bit underrated, can be very annoying to go against, stopping those charges. 3% use rate, 50% win rate on the Electro Giant, or Dragon. Giant is up next though. Where do you guys think the Electro Giant is going to fall after the big rework? It's interesting, right? I'm gonna put him in B tier. And I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me. A lot of people are gonna say he still should be S, and some people are going to say he should be F. He sucks now. So I'm going to kind of give you my honest opinion on him. First off, I have to mention, on ladder, he's doing fine, around 50% win rate. At tournament level standard, only a 40% win rate with a 3% use rate. So very, very low. However, that one Mirror Electro Giant deck with Dark Prince, I shared that deck on the channel last week, is so freaking nasty, so good. A E-Giant Mirror is just unfair in so many ways with the NATO and stuff. So I think he's still a pretty good card. Personally, what about you guys? Where do you stand on E-Giant? I'm going to give him B tier. E-Spirit, A tier. I think the Electro Spirit is one of the best spirits in the game. Has the reset, has the chain effect. Overall, just a very, very good card. And the win rates definitely back that up for the E-Spirit. Next up is going to be the Electro Wizard. Electro Wizard, we're going to give the E-Wiz a B tier ranking. 48% win rate, 9% use rate. So not too bad, not too great, but it's still one of the strongest cards, I feel like, in the game, right? It's still one of the most dynamic and unique cards with the enter the arena ability and everything that he brings to the table with the stun lock ability as well. So I think he's, you know, one of the quintessential, like I said, range units out there. So I have no problem with a B ranking there. Elite Barbarians, man. Good old E-Barbs. I'm going to go with B tier. They're a great tank killer. They're a great bridge threat. 48% win rate, 5% use rate. A little bit higher use rate and win rate on ladder as well. So I think they're in a pretty healthy spot. Can't believe I'm saying that about Elite Barbarians. The Pump, what is the stats on Pump? I think that Pump's still like a sneaky good card now, that it returns the elixir upon death. And I'm actually gonna go ahead and put it in B tier, but maybe you can make the case for A tier. It's got a surprising 5% use rate and a 52% win rate, which again is pretty good. So I think that, you know, you're getting value back from the Pump now that you get that death value. So I think there was a perfect fix for the card. It's not oppressive. It's not super OP, needs a nerf, but it's in a very healthy spot. And it really opened up Three Musketeers back into the game as well. The Elixir Golem is probably the worst card in the game now. 38% win rate, 1% use rate. No one's playing it anymore. It's just, now that they reworked it, it was a big nerf, according to every Elixir Golem pro that I've spoken to. Now we have the Executioner, who received a buff. Where does he fall right now? I'm seeing, I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing a lot more Executioner out there in my matches. 4% use rate with a 50% win rate. I'm gonna give him B. I would say he's B minus, C plus. I still think that he could maybe use a small buff. After all, he is 5 elixir. However, he's a lot better than he used to be, and I can't disagree with the buff that they did give him. So I think he's in a fairly good spot here, but he just doesn't feel like one of the best options for range, at least for me personally. I know a lot of Hog XE NATO players out there might disagree. I am, like I mentioned earlier, still seeing a lot more of him in the arena too, which is nice. We have the Fire Spirit. I'm going to put Fire Spirit A tier, guys. A whopping 21% use rate with a 50% win rate. That's insane. Both of these spirits are class act right now, the two better spirits, as opposed to Heal and Ice, who we'll be talking about in a little bit here. But overall, just insane in terms of the use rates on this card. That's a lot, you know. A threat at the bridge to do like fireball damage to the tower for 1 elixir is very inherently valuable in its own right. So next up we have the arrows. Arrows, man, A tier. Might want to even go S tier on arrows. 23% use rate, 52% win rate. That's insane. Fireball, A tier right now. 27% use rate, 51% win rate. Okay then. Now we have the Firecracker and how the mighty hath fallen on Firecracker, guys. A lot of people using Dark Goblin instead. You don't see much Firecracker out there. She has one of the worst, second worst win rate in the game at tournament level standard at 28%. For that reason, I'm going to give her a D tier. Plus, we just talked about it, guys. Everybody's right now seemingly playing either Fireball or Arrows in their deck. Obviously, both are great responses to her. She gives the easy King Tower activation almost automatically just by playing in your deck to the opponent. So there's kind of a downside with Firecracker, even though she can be annoying at times and certainly effective. I think in a vacuum, the card's still like a decent card, just not very well suited right now for this meta. Next up is going to be the Fisherman, guys. The Fisherman is going to be A tier. One of the better cards in the game. 15% use rate right now, 56% win rate. That's very, very high. Tempted to go S tier on the Fisherman. Man, he is doing really, really well right now. Royal Giant, we're seeing a lot more of that inside the meta as well. A lot of giant skeletons. Obviously, a lot of synergy with all those cards. And the Fisherman, great for King Tower activations as well. Next up, we have the Flying Machine. Oh, the Flying Machine is so annoying. I'm going to give the Flying Machine a B tier. 5% use rate, 51% on the win rate. Freeze, we'll give C tier. 4% use rate, 47% win rate. The thing is a lot of players who pick up Freeze who are not experienced Freeze players, they're too aggressive with the spell. They end up losing on the counterattack or not getting the full value from their Freeze. Sometimes all it takes is one push, as we always say with the Freeze. Next up, we have Furnace. So Furnace has seen its better days. We're going to give it a C tier, 1% use rate, 32% win rate. Very, very sad days. Could definitely make the case that it belongs in D tier. How would they buff the Furnace? Do we even want them to buff a spawner? I'm not sure if I want them to. I think I'm going to go ahead and say no. It's okay. I'll deal with the C tier furnace. How about you guys? Let me know what you think about it. Next up, we have the Giant. Giant is just, you know, he's tried and true, right? He's reliable, old reliable. He's got a 3% use rate, 55% win rate, which you love to see. Giant Skeleton S tier. How did Giant Skeleton become one of the best cards in the game, dude? What happened? I mean, I can only imagine someone waking up from Clash Royale amnesia or something like 3 years later and being like, wait a second. Giant Skeleton's the best card in the game? It's tough to argue against that. Giant Skeleton right now has a 55% win rate and a 25%. He's in 1 out of every 4 decks use rate. That's crazy. Very, very good right now. Totally shuts down an entire lane. Similar to what we talked about with a bowler, only more effectively. A lot of damage if he gets to the tower, and he's always a threat. If he's on the opponent's side of the arena or your side of the arena, if you're facing off against him, you don't want the big fella to get anywhere near your tower. Otherwise, that's going to be towered down in a lot of situations. All right, the Giant Snowball, man, B tier, but I'm tempted to go A tier. Giant Snowball, I'm a big fan. I'm going to go A. I'm going to go A. I think the Snowball is incredibly underrated. 5% use rate, 55% win rate. So bait is in a very healthy spot. Log bait, that is. Goblin Barrel is the quintessential win condition for log bait. I feel like in a vacuum, a lot of players are running a lot of counters as well for bait decks right now out there. So these faster cycle decks are definitely seeing a ton of success. That's why we see that Mighty Miner version getting that 3-card very fast cycle with the Goblin Barrel obviously as well, and usually the Dark Goblin and or Princess. 14% use rate, only a 46% win rate right now at tournament level standard. On ladder though, a 49% win rate, so a little bit better, but it's still, you know, carrying the heavy burden, being the win condition of one of the top decks out there in the game right now, so we have to give it B tier. Baby D, one of my favorite cards in the game, 9% win rate, 49%, 9% use rate, 49% win rate. I'm going to give A tier though, because it's just such a dynamic and unique card. Sure, we have Skeleton Dragons too, but really, this is Air Splash, and it's tanky. Big fan, and I am probably being a little bit biased because it's in my main deck, but at least I'm telling you guys about that. And full disclosure, right? Do you disagree with me there on the Baby D? I think I'm just like such a massive fan of the Baby Dragon. All right, now we have the Goblin Cage. 3% use rate, 47% win rate. I'm gonna give it a B tier. It's hard to, that's another one of those cards for me, the Cage. It always seems to return value any deck that I play it in. And when I go against it, I'm never excited. I'm never like, oh, Cage, easy. I'm always like, oh, Cage, crap. So because of that, I'm always going to go B tier, even though the win and use rates are not as impressive as they've been in the past for this card. Next up is going to be the Goblin Drill. S tier. The drill decks, man. You see a lot of Giant Skeleton drill decks as well. But drill is so dang strong right now. Just guaranteed damage almost every time that it hits the tower. Can be a nuisance to keep up with these faster drill cycle decks that are right now kind of going along inside the Clash Royale zeitgeist. It's not a good time. It's not a good time unless you're a drill user. Then you're very happy about this ranking. Check this out on the drill stats, guys. We have a whopping massive use rate of 13%, 53% on the win rate. So very widely used. Obviously right now we saw so many 20-win CRL challenges using that as the win condition. Gang, D tier on the Goblin Gang. I'm throwing some shade at the Goblin Gang. 34% win rate, 2% use rate, dude. Goblin Gang has seen way better days. Geez, man. It's just like, why not go guards, really? Like, why would you choose Goblin Gang over a guard? Because you want, what, a couple Spear Goblins to hit air? No. Just go with guards. So much better right now. Anyway, we have the Goblin Giant, guys. Goblin Giant is a sneaky little card. I'm going to give him A tier. He's very one-dimensional. You see Goblin Giant and Sparky. You see Goblin Giant and maybe some Devil Prince decks as well. But for the most part, we're just looking at a lot of Sparky, right? Either way, still a great card, right? I like having the tank with the Spear Goblins in the little backpack there, just hammering away at anything. Oftentimes with those Spear Goblins, you can combine with a Lightning or a Fireball and kill units you otherwise wouldn't have because of all that chip damage you're getting from the Spear Goblins as well. He has a healthy 57% win rate, only a 2% use rate. As we spoke about, a little bit of a niche card. Spawners right now are really bad. I'm going to give D tier to the Goblin Hut. It has a 35%, you know, F tier. 35% win rate, 0% use rate. Granted, that is rounded to the closest percentage, so less than 0.5% of people are playing the Goblin Hut right now. It's just not a good investment for 5 Elixir, and that's the main problem with the card. Goblins, I'm going to put C tier, 1% use rate, 44% win rate. Not much better, frankly, than the Goblin Gang. The Golem, the big fella, Golem's always a force to be reckoned with, right? I'm going to give him B tier right now. He's right in the middle of the pack. Use rate 4%. Win rate 51%, so a little bit above average, and that's exactly where I'm going to rank him here. The granddaddy of all the tank decks, all the beatdown decks inside Clash Royale. Next up is going to be my favorite win condition, the Graveyard. We're going to give it A tier, 7% use rate, 54% win rate. Very, very healthy there as well. We just spoke about the guards. Now we get to spotlight the guards. So guards are really solid. 47% win rate and a 4% use rate. I'm going to go B tier, but still way better, in my opinion, than the Goblins and the Goblin Gang, and the stats certainly back that up. Good old Heal Spirit. Heal Spirit is not as bad as the decks that you usually see it ran in, right? It has a 55% win rate, and it has a 3% use rate. So I'm going to go ahead and give it B tier. Great for Royal Hogs, right? And just getting that heal sometimes can be a game changer, as you guys obviously already know. Next up is going to be the Balloon, guys. The Balloon is in an interesting spot in the game. I can't say that it's the strongest. It's probably not the weakest, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like the old Balloon. Ever since they did that nerf to the damage, right? 8% use rate, 53% win rate. I'm going to give it an A tier, I guess. But again, I don't know, maybe B. B, A, B. B plus. We'll give it a B. We'll settle on B plus. Next up, we have the Hog Rada. So Hog, man, I mean, always has low win rates. Always has low win rates because so many people play Hog, right? So on ladder, we're looking at 53% win rates. On challenges of a 41% win rate. And then we have a 8% use rate on challenges. And we have a whopping 17% use rate on ladder. So many people play the card, but I don't think that there's a knock against the card. I think the Hog Rider is a very, very good win condition, a staple of the game, right? Hunter is up next. Hunter. I've seen a lot more Hunter in the game recently. I'm going to give him B tier, guys, right behind my ear here. What's up, Hunter? How you doing, man? Hunter has a 4% use rate, 54% win rate, so again, pretty healthy there. Next up, we have the Ice Golem. Ice Golem, 5% use rate and a 47% win rate. I'm going to give him B tier. I think he's a pretty solid card still. Ice Spirit, though, 40% win rate. 40%. He's still a 1 Elixir card, so I'm not going to take him below C tier. You can still get value from an Ice Spirit most of the time, right? Which is nice. So it's hard for me to rank him any lower, but man, he is the worst of the spirits by far in terms of the stats right now inside the game. Ice Wizard, 46% win rate and a 3% use rate. I still think it's a really strong card defensively, so I'll put it in B. The Inferno Dragon, man. This card is nasty good. I hate going against the Inferno Dragon. Right now, his win percentages are not off the charts. They are, pull them up here right now, 9% use rate, 52% win rate. I'm going to give it A tier, guys. I think Inferno Dragon is just so effective, obviously against tanks, can melt pretty much anybody, and always needs to be responded to and accounted for on the board. Next up, we have the Inferno Tower, 6% use rate, and a 45% win rate. So a little bit low on the win rates. I'm going to give it a C tier. You can make the case B tier on the card. Certainly not a bad defensive unit right now, but it's just seeing, again, a lot of cannon play, right? A lot of cannons is the defense of choice that we're seeing the most in this game by far right now. Anyway, next up is going to be the Knight. I feel like the Knight is always solid, right? I'm going to give him a B tier. It's hard. It's another one of those cards that it's hard for me to put the Knight below a B tier. His win percentage right now is on challenges 37%, awful, but on ladder 47%, so a lot better. The Lava Hound, we're gonna go right to A tier, tempted to even go S. Always has incredibly high win rates and use rates, guys. It's the second card in the game really in terms of win percentage right now at tournament level standard at 57%. 57% win rate, 7% use rate, hard, maybe even go S tier. I think I'm just gonna go, no, we'll go A tier. A tier. Okay, it's not like broken good. I don't think it needs a nerf or anything like that, so we're not going to go S on the Lava Hound. All right, next up is going to be the Lightning. Lightning is, you know, a pretty good card. I'm going to put a Lightning in the B category. The stats are 49% win rate, 6% use rates. The Bandit, 9% use rate, 50% win rate, A tier. Bandit is such a good legendary card, can dash all over the arena. You know the Bandit, right? Lumberjack, 5% use rate, 49% win rate. We'll go B tier. A lot of people preferring Mini P.E.K.K.A right now, but you still see a decent amount of Lumberjack, still great in Golem decks and Balloon decks, etc. We have the Magic Archer. Oh, such a good card. I am going to be biased on this one, but let me take a look really quickly here at the win rates right now. So it's a 7% use rate, 49% win rate, but I'm going to go A tier, especially with the continuous nerf to spell tower damage, a spell damage on crown towers. You're seeing more and more Magic Archer being used just to line up those hits on the tower. Can be so infuriating when that's happening to you, can feel so rewarding when it's happening when you're the one doing it to the opponent, right? Good old Mega Knight. Oh boy. Mega Knight is not as bad as he used to be, but he's still pretty bad. I'm going to give him C tier. He's one of the worst cards stat-wise in the game, even though you see a ton of him. 45% win rate on ladder, 41% win rate on challenges, 6% use rate, way down 5.3% on the use rate over the last month. So overall, we're just not seeing a lot of really meta Mega Knight decks out there, unless you're in mid ladder, which you see Mega Knight every single matchup, right? Mega Knight is good. Someone asked, why is Mega Knight so OP on mid ladder, but sucks at tournament level standard? You don't see him in CRL very often, stuff like that. And I think the answer is quite simple, because people have the propensity to spam at the bridge a lot more on mid ladder than they do in competitive, and that gives you a lot of value with the enter the arena ability with the Mega Knight, right? Next up is going to be the Mega Minion. So Mega Minion has always good stats. 6% use rate, 55% win rate. We're going to give it an A. Very, probably one of the, I would say of all time, one of the most balanced cards in the game. Who would even give the Mega Minion any run for his money? I'm going to go S tier with Miner. You guys know how I feel about Miner. It's just the most versatile card in the game. It has a 13% use rate, 53% win rate. I don't think it needs a nerf, even though I'm putting it in an S tier. I just think it's one of the most dynamic cards that does things that obviously no other card can do. You can place it on the opponent's side of the arena, and it's a troop, not a spell. Just such a powerful card, even though Trill is kind of similar. I guess they both burrow, right? But they're both very unique, and they're both two of the best cards in the game, in my opinion. Mini P.E.K.K.A. The stats obviously back that up as well. Mini P.E.K.K.A, I'm seeing a decent amount of Mini P.E.K.K.A, 6% use rate, 46% win rate. We're going to give him a B tier. I think he's a really strong card, and it depends on what you need. You know, Lumberjack or Mini P.E.K.K.A going for a 4 elixir tank killer. Both cards can be a very big threat. I'm afraid, I fear both of those cards in the right situation when my opponent is playing them. Minion Horde, man. Minion Horde is one of those weird cards that the stats are not that bad, surprisingly, after a long time of being bad for the Minion Horde. 50% win rate, 3% use rate. However, even with that, you know, you can disagree if you want to. I'm going to give an average rating to the Minion Horde because there's so many counters out there as well, right? There's so much splash in this game, and obviously so much arrows going around. There's plenty of options out there to respond to the Minion Horde. So you have to be very strategic about how you're playing it when you're playing it in your deck. 47% win rate, 3% use rate on the minions. I'm going to give them a little bit higher. We'll give them a B tier ranking. Now we have the Mirror. Oof. The Mirror is an interesting one, guys. So broken with everything, I feel like. I'm going to give Mirror S tier. And the stats definitely back it up. 25% use rate, the Mirror. Again, talk about like harkening back to players that, you know, haven't played in a long time. Mirror is now a viable card. What? It's an S tier card? Just so incredible to get those extra levels now added on to the card. Like I was saying, 25% use rate, 52% win rate. It's really a staple of those fast bait decks and the Electro Giant Mirror deck as well. So maybe A tier, you could make the argument, but I'm going to go S tier here, guys. Speaking of S tier, I think that Mortar is an S tier card as well. It is the third highest win rate in the game right now at 56% win rate, 4% use rate. It's just so effective on the defensive end and on the offensive end, obviously. And I just hate going against a good Mortar player, man. I feel like a good Mortar player just beats me every single time. All right, the Bar Barrel, guys. We have the Bar Barrel next. Bar Barrel is always solid in my estimation. Has a 13% use rate, 53% win rate, similar to Snowball and to Arrows, Fireball. It's just one of the better spells out there inside the game. Mother Witch, so strong right now. I'm going to give her A tier. She's 11%, excuse me, a 16% use rate with a 54% win rate. I mean, that's borderline A+, S- territory right there. I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But yeah, Mother Witch is back in a big way, to my annoyance being a graveyard player. We get the Musketeer, 6% use rate, 45% win rate on the Muskie. Muskie has seen better days. I'm going to give her a B tier ranking right next to my good friend Electro Wizard. Two really strong, robust, defensive air targeting options, but both of them have seen, again, their time in the sun a little bit more than they do right now inside this meta. Next up, we have the Night Witch. Good old Night Witch. How's she doing? I actually don't have a really good grasp on Night Witch right now. It looks like she's kind of middle of the pack, right? We'll give her B tier. She has a 3% use rate and a 52% win rate. So obviously effective in the decks that people are choosing to use her in. However, the variety of decks and archetypes that we're seeing with her right now is really limited, mainly just to Golem right now in terms of meta decks out there. Next up, we have P.E.K.K.A. How is P.E.K.K.A. doing right now? I think that my gut tells me she's probably B tier, and I think the stats pretty much back that up. 4% use rate and only a 45% win rate on the P.E.K.K.A. I'm sorry, P.E.K.K.A. Sorry, P.E.K.K.A. But you've seen better days as well. But I still think that above average card, because it's the quintessential tank killer inside Clash Royale. So, you know, you never feel uncomfortable going into a match with P.E.K.K.A. on your side, despite the lower win rates. All right, next up is going to be Poison, guys. Next up is Poison, guys. We have a 7% use rate, 51% win rate, A tier, right? It's similar to Fireball and the rest of the spells. All of the big spells are in a pretty good spot right now inside the game. Next up, we have the Prince. We talked about Dark Prince. Prince, 3% use rate, 46% win rate. I'm going to say the Prince is C tier right now. He's definitely been a lot better. You know, maybe you could go B, but I just feel like, I don't know, pales in comparison to his brother, or his cousin, or his nephew, whatever the Dark Prince is. Brothers, right? They're brothers. We have the Princess up next, guys. Man, Princess has also seen better days, only a 41% win rate in challenges, but only a 5% use rate. Now on ladder, it's a lot better at 49% win rate, but still use rates are really lower than we've ever seen on Princess. And we talked a little bit about this, right? We're seeing Dark Goblin creep up into a lot of the decks that she was obviously like 100% going to be a part of previously. So that being said though, I'm still gonna give her a B because she's still a great card in a vacuum. Just because a card doesn't have great win percentages or use percentages in a particular meta does not a knock at the overall utility you can have with a card. Even in this meta, I think you can have a lot of success with a Princess still. Call me crazy, but that's what I think. All right, next up we have the Rage spell. Rage I'm going to give a B tier as well. 4% use rate, 47% win rate. It's seen as a no skill card in the game, and maybe I tend to agree, I guess, but it gets the job done, man. Rage can be very effective. The Ram Rider, I like the Ram Rider a little bit better than the Battle Ram because of the defensive utility that she brings to the table. Higher win percentages as well. Same use percentage at 3% on the Ram Rider, but I think the Ram Rider is a pretty good spot right now. You know, very average. Stats are almost exactly 50%, as we mentioned, on the win rate. Rascals, only a 1% use rate and a 47% win rate. I'm going to give him C tier. I would like to see another small buff to the Rascals. Barbarian Hut, F tier. The worst spawner in the game, in my opinion. 0% use rate and a 42% win rate. Very bad. I always get excited when I go against somebody who's playing a Barb Hut. I'm like, oh, Barb Hut, awesome. Gonna have plenty of ways to recoup time and elixir against a Barbarian Hut. It's just not very, it's too big of an investment. It's too big of an investment for 7 elixir for a Barbarian Hut, you know, when you could have a Mega Knight or a P.E.K.K.A. instead, you know, such a more dynamic card than a Barb Hut. All right, next up is going to be the Rocket, guys. Rocket, 10% use rate. with a 45% win rate. Very good spot. I'm tempted to even go, I think I'm going to go A tier. I think that win percentage is a little low at 45%, but partially because the use rate is very high, even compared to some other spells. So I think that right now it's a rocket meta. You know, last month or 2 months ago was a lightning meta, so it just depends on what's going on right now, but I think that Rocket's in a very good spot. The Royal Delivery, one of my favorite cards in the game, 51% use rate and 51% win rate. That would be a lot of usage, and a 4% use rate. So still not people's favorite spell out there in the game, but just such a great card. Very versatile, can shut down these big pushes. Always kind of surprise factor on it too, coming from above. So really, really a big fan of the delivery. I'll give it an A tier. Royal Ghost, right back up to S tier, ladies and gentlemen. Royal Ghost has a 20% use rate right now. 20% use rate and a 55% win rate. That is incredibly impressive to that high of a win percentage with that high of a use percentage. We talked about the inverse of that when we spoke about the Hog Rider, man. I mean, Royal Ghost just so dynamic for 3 elixir right now. Just can, you know, do a lot and can be a nuisance for the opponent as well. Always has to be responded to and accounted for when it is in the arena. Next up, we have the Royal Giant, who I mentioned earlier, but he is really strong right now. I'm going to give him A tier. He has a 56% win rate. That is a 3-way tie with the Mortar, the Goblin Giant 4-way tie, excuse me, and the Fisherman in that number 2 slot in terms of the best cards right now in terms of win rates in the game. So 55% win rate. The Royal Giant is back in a big way. Now we next have the Royal Hogs, guys. S tier on the Royal Hogs as well. 17% use rate, 54% win rate. Very, very high. Very good stats. I prefer Royal Hogs to even Hog Rider right now. I don't know about you guys, but I just think they're so good. I love that you can split them as well. You just get more options when you're playing the Royal Hogs, in my opinion. All right, next up is going to be the Royal Recruits, guys. I'm going to put them in C tier. There is 1 or 2 meta decks going around with Recruits right now, so you can definitely have success with them. However, there's still, I don't know, an uninteresting card that is very expensive that can easily return value for the opponent, provided they have the right counters in hand. And I guess you could probably say that about a lot of cards, but Recruits right now have really bad stats too. 2% use rate and a 43% win rate. That is obviously very low. Next up is Skarmy. So Skarmy, I think, is a pretty solid card, man. For 3 elixir, you can do a lot worse. The stats right now are a whopping 12% use rate, very high for Skarmy, and a 51% win rate. So very, very good position. You can even use them against an Electro Giant. They do decent amount of DPS before they get evaporated by the reflect damage. All right, next up we have the Skeleton Barrel. The Skelly Barrel, 3% use rate, 47% win rate. It's B tier. It's a little bit above average. Skeleton Dragons, guys. This is a tough one. Probably the difficult card that we're going to rank today. The number 1 win rate in challenges in the last 7 days is Skeleton Dragons. 57% win rate, that's a tie with Lava Hound for number 1, and a 5% use rate. I'm going to give it A tier. I don't think that it feels, I think it's more indicative of a couple good decks using Skeleton Dragons than it is the card itself being broken. Because keep in mind, when we're evaluating all of these win use rates, we're not just basing it on just that card, we're also basing it on the decks that they're popular in. How effective are they, right? So the Skeleton Dragons, I think, are great. However, I don't think they're S tier great. That's just my opinion there. All right, we have the Skeletons up next. Oh man, Larry always returns value. He is the OG, the classic 1 elixir card inside the game. I'm going to give him A tier because Skeletons are sneaky best card in the game, right? If anybody asks you what's the best card in Clash Royale, you could never go wrong by saying Skeletons. It makes you look like an educated player because you know the psych ability, you know how effective they can be on defense as well. A whopping 27% use rate, 50% win rate on the Skellies. What about Barbarians? Are they seeing a much higher win rate now that they got the buff? Well, the answer is yes. 55% win rate on Barbarians with a 2% use rate, so still not being used very widely, but definitely more effective. You see them in some more lava decks going back to the Barbarians, so I'll give them a B tier. Looks like that buff to Barbarians really did do the trick. Next up, we have Sparky. So Viva la Sparky always has pretty healthy stats. 5% use rate, 54% win rate. That's really effective. Even with the counters out there, I think that Sparky is still a very, very good win condition slash support, win condition slash and tons of damage dealer that can can clog up a lane as well on defensive end. Good counterattack card, right? Do a ton of damage to whatever they have thrown at you, and then counterattack with it with a Goblin Giant or a Giant or whatever in front, right? So Sparky, very, very good. Next up, we have Spear Gobs, 3% use rate and a 50% win rate. We'll give them B tier, right? The Tesla. How the mighty have fallen, guys. Tesla was one of the best cards in the game. I think I put it S tier on maybe my last tier list, you know? But it has fallen off big time. I'm going to give it D tier. I'm tempted to go F. It has a 2% use rate and a 32% win rate. 32% win rate. The log, S tier. I mean, 40% use rate? That's insanity. 40% use rate, 49% win rate. So it's in 4 out of every 10 decks has log. It's really not even a shocker to anybody. Log is still one of the best small spells in the game, if not the best. It's a legendary. It ought to be, right? Next up is going to be 3 Musk. I mentioned this earlier, but 3 Musk are actually in a pretty healthy spot. We're going to put them A tier. 3% use rate, 54% win rate. So very, very good. And a lot less kind of Valkyrie going around, which we might as well talk about Valkyrie right now. She went way, way down. She has a 44% win rate, and she has a 10% use rate. So still a lot of people using her, but not a lot of people winning with her compared to where she was just a couple months ago. So I'm going to give her B tier. But again, cards like Mega Knight and Valkyrie not being super popular also helps out the Musketeers. 3 Musketeers, that is. And same thing with a card like Pump being viable, right? Okay, next up is going to be the Tombstone. Tombstone, really, really good defensive building right now. 11% use rate and a 55% win rate. So very healthy. Definite A tier for that card. Tornado, you guys know my love for Tornado. I think it's the best card in the game. That's my answer for the best card in the game, because nothing can do everything that Tornado can do. You know, group up units for splash damage, activate the King Tower, just pull units everywhere around the map at your very leisure. It's great. 17% use rate, 53% win rate. I'm going to give it A tier, even though, you know, I am biased. I want to give it S tier, but I'm going to give it A tier because those stats are good. I'm not sure if it warrants S tier. Next up is going to be Wall Breakers, guys. 6% use rate and a 51% win rate. I'm going to give them A tier. Good little win condition for 2 elixir. Nice cyclability as well. The Witch is the worst card in the game in terms of win percentage at tournament level standard. Ladder, not too bad, 48%. But on tournament level, 27%. That's the worst card in the game, guys. We're going to give her D tier. I don't think she's as trash as the F tier, but definitely, you know, the Witch needs some more loving. I don't know if she needs a buff or a rework. What are your ideas for the Witch? Next up, we have Bats. Bats are A tier to me, guys. Bats are A tier. We're going to put them right over here. 10% use rate, 50% win rate. They just do so much DPS, guys. So much DPS from a 2 elixir card. Gotta love it. And now we have the champions. I think that the champions, Queen, Skelly King, I think, honestly, guys, I think they're all S tier. And they should be. I don't think that any of them need a nerf, personally, right now. But I do think that all of them, you can make the case that they're S tier, right? The Golden Knight, the Skeleton King, the Mighty Miner, and the Archer Queen are all just really good. You know, that's why you tune into the channel. That's sort of expert analysis. They're all good, guys. They're all good. And it's really beyond the champion. It's really all about the 3-card cycle and the strategic implications that has had onto the game. A lot of people think that that's ruining the game, the 3-card cycle in particular. I made a whole video talking about that I'll link. It's a perfect time to watch this because this one's about over, guys. What do you think? Where was I right? Where was I wrong? Let me have it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Big shout out to Clash Royale, our YouTube partner, where you can check out all these card stats yourself as well. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.